I want you to picture a vast, echoing abyss, a place completely untouched by the frantic, buzzing, endless noise of the modern world. That right there is the landscape of the restless mind, searching for just a moment of peace. Look, we live in an era that demands our immediate reaction to absolutely everything. We're provoked, we're prodded, and we are expected to broadcast our thoughts the exact second an impulse strikes us. But if you've been looking for a way out of that exhaustion, this explainer is going to show you how ancient philosophy offers a radically different path to surviving the chaos. Here is the core truth we're going to explore. Silence is not weakness. Silence is control. Now, I know this completely rejects our modern instincts. Today, we're heavily conditioned to believe that if someone challenges us, we have to frantically explain, justify, and defend ourselves at every single turn. We've bought into this idea that if we don't speak up immediately, we somehow lose. But the Stoic philosophers, they realize something entirely different. Silence isn't a white flag of surrender. It's actually the ultimate manifestation of control. Because when you choose not to speak, you are flat out refusing to hand over the keys to your emotional state.
So, I want you to genuinely ask yourself right now, why do you feel the need to answer the world immediately? Just think about the absolute exhaustion of over-explaining yourself. Think about how draining it is to let every passing comment, every annoying email, or every slight provocation completely dictate your heart rate. When you instinctively snap back at an insult, who is actually in charge in that moment? It isn't you. The person who provoked you has literally just pulled your strings. They're making you dance to their tune. You are letting other people control your internal state, and let's be honest, it is exhausting.
Think about the stark contrast between two very different states of being. On one side, we have the reactive mind. This mind is driven purely by impulse, by a fragile ego that is desperately trying to defend itself, and when you operate from this state, you are just handing your power over to anyone who wants to take it. But on the other side, we have the silent mind. This mind is driven by distance. By actively choosing to step back and remain quiet, you create a buffer between the event and your response. That distance gives you the absolute clarity needed to survive our modern chaos. And that clarity, that translates directly into unshakable control. Let's start by looking at the trap of noise and the actual mechanics of an overreaction. To truly understand how to build this silent mind, we have to look at how our minds actually process provocation. The crucial point here is understanding the Stoic definition of a passion. Now, when the Stoics talk about a passion, like a sudden fit of rage, deep fear, or overwhelming anxiety, they don't mean some uncontrollable outside force that just possesses you. No, according to Stoic psychology, the human mind is entirely rational. A passion is actually an impulse that you have mistakenly allowed to go out of control. It disobeys reason because your mind's commanding faculty essentially gave a green light to a bad impression. To put it bluntly, your anger happens because you agreed to be angry. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius observed in his private journals that emotional outbursts and rapid, frantic defenses are actually signs of profound weakness. And we often confuse loud, aggressive anger with strength, don't we? But Aurelius recognized that true power lies in unpassionateness. It's the ability to remain entirely untouched and untroubled by the swirling chaos around you. He believed that grief and anger both proceed from weakness. So the closer you get to a state of calm, quiet restraint, the closer you get to true, untouchable power. Which brings us to the Stoic pause, and how we actually go about creating that vital distance. So how do we stop these impulsive reactions? Well, we use the ultimate defensive weapon in Stoic philosophy, the deliberate delay. And this is rooted in the concept of assent. In Stoic psychology, when something happens, let's say someone insults you to your face, you receive an initial impression. You know that very first flash of heat, that sudden drop in your stomach? The Stoics fully acknowledge that this initial physical reaction, this pre-emotion, might be totally involuntary. You can't stop that first impression from hitting you. But, and this is a massive but, the choice to actually react, the choice to turn that flash into full-blown anger, that requires your mind's explicit permission. It requires your assent. So here is exactly how you intercept a provocation before it becomes a reaction. Step 1, acknowledge the impression. Feel the flash of anger, but label it simply as an impression, nothing more. Step 2, enforce a pause. This is exactly where silence becomes your greatest tool. By literally clamping your mouth shut, you physically prevent the reaction from escaping into the world. And step 3, choose your response. In that heavy
talkative silence, you have successfully severed the chain of impulse. You've regained the time you need to consult your reason rather than your ego.
This builds perfectly on the teachings of Epictetus. He tells us that when we're provoked, we have to be absolutely assured that it's our own opinion that is provoking us, not the person actually throwing the insult. Think about it. The insult is just noise vibrating in the air. Your judgment that this noise is terrible and that you must immediately defend yourself is what actually causes your distress. By remaining silent, you gain time and respite. You buy yourself those precious few seconds needed to command yourself, proving that your mind can and will overrule your reflex. Now, let's talk about silence as a shield and how it actively protects your mind. Not every insult deserves an answer. It really is that simple. You do not owe the world an explanation. When someone attacks you, they are desperately throwing out a hook, just hoping you'll bite so they can drag you right down into their chaos. When you respond, you validate their attack. You give it life. But when you stay completely silent, you leave their insult just hanging there in the dead air. It's incredibly powerful because it exposes the attacker's own weakness and insecurity. Silence literally starves the fire of its oxygen.
The philosopher Seneca recounts an incredible story about Plato that captures this idea perfectly. Plato's slave had committed a serious fault, and Plato was absolutely furious. He raised his hand to strike the man, but at that exact split-second moment, Plato caught his own anger. A friend walked into the room and asked what on earth he was doing, standing there completely frozen with his hand up in the air. And Plato quietly replied, "I am making an angry man expiate his crime." He consciously denied himself the power to react. He used physical freezing and total silence to punish his own impulse, completely refusing to let his anger dictate his actions.
This leads us to the power of no response and achieving true mastery over the self.
When you practice absolute silence in the face of provocation, it translates into ultimate authority over yourself. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the chaos of the world, the opinions of others, the lost wealth, the sudden betrayals, all of that remains strictly on the outside. These things cannot touch your soul. As he put it, they stand without, still and quiet. All the tumult, all the real trouble proceeds from the opinions you form within. Your mind is an invincible fortress, but it's only a fortress if you choose to keep the gates closed. By speaking out in anger, by reacting defensively, you are the one voluntarily throwing the gates wide open and inviting the chaos inside.
And you see this ancient wisdom connect flawlessly to our modern reality every single day. Think about a heated meeting at work or a tense argument with a relative. The person who's shouting, who over-explains, who desperately tries to win the verbal battle, they look frantic, they look weak, they look completely out of control. But the person who absorbs the hit, remains completely calm, and offers nothing but a heavy, deliberate silence, they instantly suffocate the manipulation. Their quiet restraint commands the space. They hold all the power.
Now, practicing this doesn't mean you become some cold, cruel, or disconnected statue. Epictetus advises us to speak what is needful, but in few words. This form of silence is just highly deliberate. It means you are actively protecting your peace from the buzzing of the marketplace. You're reserving your energy, your words, and your deep emotions for things that actually matter, rather than squandering them on trivial conflicts and the passing judgments of total strangers.
Because here is the central realization of the silent mind. Speaking out of impulse, letting your ego completely dictate your mouth, and exhausting yourself explaining your actions to people who are entirely committed to misunderstanding you, that is precisely what drains your presence. Every single time you react instantly, you leak a little bit of your power. But every time you hold the silence, you store that energy. You build up an internal reservoir of strength that the outside world simply cannot touch.
So, I want you to carry this dark, quiet thought with you into the noise of your daily life. The next time you feel that familiar heat of provocation rising in your chest, retreat into your own mind. Deny the impulse. Find that pause. Embrace the quiet, unshakable power of the Stoic abyss. Master yourself first, and you'll find you rarely need to answer the world at all.